Roger, thanks. Sorry about the hassle on the link, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Delighted to be here as always.
Well, I'm glad to get you. So I have a question. Let's start with this. MAGA is upset in many ways with the president. What say you, and is it realistic or is it justified?
I see no reason why MAGA should be upset. He is precisely following the agenda that he laid out on the campaign trail.
Mm-hmm.
Illegal border crossings have dropped by 98%. He has undertaken the largest single deportation of dangerous illegal immigrant criminals in U.S. history. He is negotiating much better trade deals for the United States. In June, for the first time in 15 years, we've actually had a surplus in the U.S. government. He's just delivered the largest tax cut in American history, actually the extension of the largest tax cut in American history. At the same time, 88% of those currently receiving Social Security will pay no tax on those benefits. He has barred men from playing in women's sports. He's rebuilding the strength of our military, but doing away with the DEI policies that were destroying our military. He's delivering on virtually every front. And at the same time, his administration now, finally, thanks to the leadership of Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, has completely exposed the fraudulence of the Russian collusion hoax, which, as you know, hamstrung his presidency for 3 of the first 4 years that he was president. And it appears increasingly like the people who perpetrated the single greatest dirty trick in American political history, the single greatest abuse of power, in which they utilized 2 fraudulent pieces of evidence, the so-called Steele dossier and the false claim that the Democrat National Committee was hacked by Russian intelligence, to weaponize the full authority of the United States government to try to remove a duly elected president. This makes Watergate look like small potatoes. And increasingly, it appears that Attorney General Pam Bondi is going to bring those perps to justice. So if you voted for Donald Trump, I'm not sure what you have to be unhappy about. I'm in favor of full disclosure on all matters Jeffrey Epstein. I wrote about this very extensively in my 2015 book, The Clintons' War on Women. I probably know more about the case than most Americans. I read every word of the sworn testimony of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I interviewed her for 6 hours in 2 3-hour sessions. I read all the other pleadings of those victims of Epstein who refused to settle and went forward with their lawsuits against him. I have studied and published the FAA manifest to tell us who was on Epstein's plane and where they went and when they went. And I had Epstein's little black book, which is his telephone book. That doesn't mean that everybody in the book is guilty of wrongdoing, but many people are. I'm in favor of full disclosure. Trump administration has moved to unseal the grand jury testimony, both from the Florida case in the early 20s and also in the 2019 case, when it was the Trump Justice Department that charged Jeffrey Epstein with child sex trafficking and conspiracy to engage in child sex trafficking. So I think all these documents are going to come out. Donald Trump has nothing to hide and nothing to fear. Yeah, he was on Epstein's plane a couple of times, which proves what exactly? Nothing.
Interesting. So I think there's also, a feeling that while I got you, I just wanted to ask you this, in the Middle East, that we may be being pressured to do certain things that is not in our interest. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? What do you think?
Well, look, I come from I'm a libertarian. I come from kind of the Ron Paul school of republicanism. So I'm inherently anti-war, certainly against endless war as provided for us by George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Bill Kristol and others. I think the president made a shrewd and good decision in the end to go in and launch a surgical strike against the nuclear capabilities or the nuclear development program of the Iranians. But not a single American lost their lives. There are no boots on the ground. I have no long-term commitment. I do think we achieved our narrow strategic objectives. And I support, in the end, the final decision made by the president. Committing troops to the ground, entering into another long-term war in the tradition of the neocons is not what he did. What you did see, I think, was the application of the concept of peace through strength, as exemplified by Dwight Eisenhower, by Ronald Reagan, by Richard Nixon, and now by Donald Trump. A limited engagement, which we acted in our best interest. So I reject this idea that anybody tells Donald Trump what to do, or that he is controlled by anyone other than the American people, who I think he answers to.
Good to hear. So you were harmed directly by all this Russia stuff, impacted you personally. Are you getting some, I don't know what the word is, satisfaction that these people may be brought to justice?
Well, I certainly feel vindicated. If you go back and look at it, most people don't understand this. I wasn't charged with Russian collusion. I wasn't even charged with collaboration with WikiLeaks, with which there was none. I was charged very cleverly with lying to Congress in my voluntary testimony before the House Intelligence Committee. And when I was sentenced, the judge dressed me down for an hour in one of the most vicious partisan tirades you've ever heard. But she specifically said, "You have been convicted of covering up for Donald Trump," to which I say, covering up what? The Russian collusion? There was no Russian collusion. So my lawyers and I are thinking seriously about whether I have an action against the government. I think most people understand I was framed on some kind of a process crime in order to pressure me to testify falsely against Donald Trump. In other words, after spending $30 million and with unlimited investigative power and an unlimited budget, and going through all of my emails, all of my text messages, all of my phone calls, interviewing everybody I ever knew, everybody who ever worked for me or with me, they could find no evidence of Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration. So they cook up this process crime in order to try to flip me to testify against the president, which I refused to do. I thank Jesus Christ and my faith, because I prayed fervently that the president would recognize that I was being persecuted simply because I was a supporter and friend of his in an effort to get me to testify falsely against him, and I refused. That is the reason he pardoned me. And I'm sick of arguing with people online. Oh, you were in touch with Russian intelligence assets, Guccifer 2.0. Please give me a break. I had a limited exchange on Twitter, direct messages, which I myself released, but it took place 3 months after WikiLeaks had already released all of the material regarding the DNC and Hillary Clinton. So chronologically, there was nothing wrong with that communications. And then when you look at the content of it, it's completely innocuous. So yeah, I'm feeling a certain level of vindication. On the other hand, if John Brennan, the former CIA director, the Islamic convert, communist who forced the Steele dossier into the president's daily intelligence brief as a way to rationalize the FISA warrants that were used to spy on Donald Trump's campaign, and as a way to rationalize the appointment of Robert Mueller so he could conduct a witch hunt. If John Brennan and James Comey, the corrupt FBI director, Hillary Clinton, who approved this entire operation, as documents that Tulsi Gabbard is now declassified absolutely prove, Susan Rice, this list goes on and on, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew Weissman, the single most corrupt prosecutor in U.S. history. If these people are not prosecuted, then no, I will not have a sense of closure about the whole thing. The good news is, according to yesterday's news, Attorney General Pam Bondi has authorized a prosecutor to begin showing evidence against these perps to a grand jury, and that's good news indeed.
It is good news. We all hope it happens. What about you mentioned Christians in your Christian faith? Is Donald Trump aware of the Christian persecution that's going on around the world? I mean, is that an issue that he thinks about and worries about or focuses on? Do you
I
know?
think very, very much so.
Mhm.
He's actually signed a religious freedom bill, as you know.
Mhm.
This has to be a concern.
Mhm.
I have a particular concern about persecution of Christians in Syria.
Yes.
We witnessed this before. We witnessed the mass slaughter of Christians when the people who were in charge in Syria were in charge previously.
Yeah.
I was no big fan of Assad, but you didn't, at least under Assad, have the mass murder of Christians. And if Syria is serious about entering, the family of nations, then this has to stop. I do also understand, though, and I think Trump understands, you don't conduct sensitive international negotiations in public.
Yeah.
But it is a giant concern. It was a concern when the Biden administration moved very quickly to topple Assad before Trump could become president,
Yes.
leaving him with the mess of having an extremist element in control in Syria.
That was very obvious. The reason I wanted to have you on is I saw your tweet or a few days ago on this about people being put into place inside the administration that may have ties to Brennan and others. Are you getting some, relief on this? Are people listening to you?
I think that, and I did an hour and a half with Laura Loomer last night, which is combat duty. I mean, she's she's a friend of mine, and
Yes.
about 80% of the show is about her.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
And we had a good time. But I think she serves a very useful purpose because she does research the backgrounds of these people.
Sure.
Who today are maybe claiming to be ardent Trump supporters, but who really in the past were neocons and never Trumpers. So, for example, this fellow who you just showed, Smith, I don't think in the end that he will be appointed. Now, there's very little question that he was under consideration for the number 2 position at the NSA. But if one looks at his background, he was brought into government by John Brennan. He actually boasted about vacationing with Brennan. Brennan gave him every job and every promotion that he had within the CIA. Now, today he denies all of that, but his denials are not terribly believable. So yes, I think that we have to recognize that in the 8 years of Barack Obama and in the 4 years of Joe Biden, which was really the third term,
Right.
that these people burrowed very, very deeply into the fabric of government, particularly in the fabric of our national security apparatus. I still want to understand why Robert Malley, who was very clearly an Iranian spy, but had a high-level position in the Biden State Department. This is the greatest single spy scandal since Alger Hiss, the Russian communist spy who infiltrated the Roosevelt State Department. I still don't understand why he hasn't been prosecuted. I still don't understand why some of his associates still have security clearances. This is where journalists like Lee Smith, who's one of the best investigative journalists and authors out there, have done an incredible service to expose this kind of infiltration, this kind of espionage. And again, I think Laura Loomer serves a very a very useful purpose in pointing out the backgrounds of these people and their attempts to infiltrate this administration. As you know, Todd, in the first Trump administration, um, Donald Trump came to Washington from the world of business, and perhaps he had a more simple understanding of politics. He thought, well, there's the Democrats and there's the Republicans. The Democrats are against me. The Republicans are for me. And therefore, I think he looked at the qualifications of individuals. And if they had an R after their name, they would be considered. Now, I think after 4 years in the wilderness, 4 years of being a target where they tried to bankrupt him, they tried to keep him off the ballot in 50 states, they tried to put him in jail. And yes, they tried twice, at least, to kill him. He has a much keener understanding of how Washington really works. He has a much better understanding of who his friends really are and who his friends are not. And I think it's why you have an all-star cabinet. There's not a single person in this cabinet that I think was a poor choice. I think they're all, to a person, I think they're all excellent. And you could not say that about the last cabinet. You certainly couldn't say that about past White House chiefs of staff like General John Kelly, past national security advisors like H.R. McMaster, these global elitists who somehow thought that their job was to save the people from Donald Trump as opposed to implementing Donald Trump's agenda.
Well, as you know, personnel is policy. Yes, the cabinet looks good, but these people are still getting in. Why does it take Laura Loomer to vet these people and get the information out on them? Is it just a overwhelming task inside the administration?
It is overwhelming. I mean, first of all, cleaning house after essentially 12 years of an unprecedented effort to subvert our government just takes time. On the other hand, we still have Biden, in some cases, even Obama ambassadors in place. I think they need to be replaced. We still have, particularly in the Justice Department, in every one of these federal jurisdictions, while you have interim U.S. attorneys, virtually everybody under them are either careerists who are really left-wing Democrats, or they're political appointees who have not yet been replaced. And of course, you have a standstill because by tradition, U.S. attorneys in any given state have to have at least the acquiescence of the two senators from that state, regardless of party. So, for example, in New Jersey, the two U.S. senators, Cory Booker, one of the most corrupt U.S. senators of all time, and Andy Kim, refused to give what they call a blue slip, refused to give approval to the president's appointment of Alina Habba as the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. Now, the president and Alina Habba outflanked them. Had Alina's interim appointment lapsed, therefore creating a vacancy, well, then by law, the federal judges in that jurisdiction, 14 of 17 of whom are left-wing Democrats, would be able to fill that position. But because she resigned short of the expiration of her interim term, the president was able to appoint her as the first assistant U.S. attorney, leaving the U.S. attorney's office vacant for the time being, and therefore reestablishing Alina Habba's authority to continue prosecuting corrupt Democrats and others within New Jersey. But this is a problem. It's not, by the way, a law that requires this. It is a Senate tradition. Therefore, it can't be challenged in court. But also, there's a very low probability that Republican senators, who in the past have used this exact process to prevent left-wing prosecutors from being seated, are going to give up on the tradition.
What about recess appointments? I mean, there's obviously that's not happening, right? I mean, is the president putting pressure on Thune? I mean, do you know anything about the interaction there behind the scenes?
I must confess to you, I do not. I would like to see recess appointments. I understand there are technicalities involved in the way that be done. But the sooner the president can get a hold of his government, the better. This was part of our larger problem in 2016 and in the president's first term. Remember, I was prosecuted by the Trump Justice Department.
Hmm.
It amazes me that when I see Reince Priebus on, let's say, with Sean Hannity, Reince Priebus, the former Republican national chairman, briefly Donald Trump's White House chief of staff, is the person who recommended Rod Rosenstein to be the number 2 man at the Justice Department.
Yeah.
Rod Rosenstein not only volunteered to wear a wire in an attempt to entrap Donald Trump and remove him under the 25th Amendment. He denied that when the New York Times said it. Then when Biden defeated Trump, he came clean and said, no, actually, I did do that. But it was also Rod Rosenstein who said that under oath to the U.S. Senate that he never authorized the investigation into me. Yet I have the actual document on October 17th of 2019 where he did authorize the investigation into me. And that was 3 weeks after Robert Mueller knew that there was no Russian collusion. So it proves that my prosecution specifically was politically motivated, was a malicious prosecution. But where did Rosenstein come from? Well, he came from Reince Priebus. Why would we have Reince Priebus back at the Republican National Convention? Why would we continue to have him in our entourage, given the damage he did to the first Trump presidency?
Well, you mentioned Hannity. Does anybody watch Fox News anymore, Roger? I mean, I guess
it's funny that you say that, but the truth is yes, because I just did a survey of voters in Nevada, where I'm probably going to help a candidate for Congress, and among conservative Republicans, although they do not have the market share that they used to have, and frankly, Newsmax and strangely enough, Alex Jones and InfoWars have gained a very large part of that audience. Newsmax is on cable. InfoWars, of course, is not on cable, but widely available on the internet. And they have picked up a lot of the Fox market. But if you're a Republican candidate running in a Republican primary for federal office anywhere in the country, you would be foolish not to advertise on Fox.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Because they are still getting a disproportionate number of views among self-described conservatives.
So last question. I think I know your answer, but is Donald Trump, does he deserve and will he get the Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, there's no question that he deserves it. I mean, ending the conflict between Congo and Rwanda, getting a ceasefire between Pakistan and India, those are just two examples. Plus, I think fighting every day for peace in both the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, where he's very anxious to end that. Seems to me every time he gets one side put together, the other side falls apart. But using every power he has, I think the greatest single title that history can bestow is that of peacemaker. Trump has already earned that in the international conflicts that he has ended, and I think he deserves it. Will he get it? No, I don't think so, because this is a liberal elitist organization. They gave Barack Obama the Peace Prize, and he dropped more bombs and bombed more people and droned more people than any president in American history. What great achievement for peace did Barack Obama have? I think the answer is none.
Including American citizens. Well, thank you, Roger. Appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything else you want to get out, and where do people follow you?
Thanks for that question. You can obviously hear me every day, 5 days a week at 8 p.m. Eastern at WABCradio.com. My show, The Stone Zone. No matter where you live on the face of the earth, you can get us online at WABCradio.com. That's at 8 p.m. Every weekday. And then on weekends, on Sundays, 3 to 5, The Roger Stone Show. Once again at WABCradio.com. And then, of course, go to stonezone.com. I have a piece that I just put up that I co-wrote with Mark Vargas of the Illinois Review about why we believe Barack Obama can be prosecuted for the Russian collusion hoax. So check out stonezone.com. And you can also get all things Roger Stone, my books, my T-shirts, my daily opinion videos, and so on.
Roger, thank you, and thank you for your support for free media. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Have you back. Thank you very much.
Great to be with you. God
Take
bless you.
care.